All of us have come to college with expectations in mind. What our experience is going to be like, what we're going to get out of college. We came to college probably thinking that I want to find that true joy, those deep friendships that will last a lifetime. Finding purpose, fulfillment, and satisfaction. You came with these expectations that this is what is going to come when I am in college. You have this vision of what it's going to look like, and over the course of the last few weeks, and maybe the last couple months, you start to see, hey, faith could really be a part of that, and it could even help me get to this vision that I'm seeing. And you're thinking, if I can grow in my faith, I will find this true joy, find this true satisfaction, find those true fins. Maybe that is something that you're saying could be true for you. And maybe over the course of the last few weeks, you've been really working hard to learn more about God and learn more about what He says and learn more about your faith. And maybe what's happening is you're trying to grow, but for some reason, you're just not feeling it. Whenever you started trying to learn more about God, you're expecting joy, excitement, you're expecting satisfaction and peace. But at this point, right now, what you're feeling is anxiety, you're feeling stress, you feel exhausted, and maybe for some of you, you just feel lonely. You feel stuck. And you're not totally sure what to do because you feel like you're doing all of the right things. And so as Blake said, then over the course of the next few weeks, we want to help you accelerate your faith. For a lot of you, you probably feel stuck in what knowing God looks like. What can I actually do? You probably feel stuck. And I want you to know, if that is how you feel, then know that you are in the right place. You are in the right place for that, because we want to help accelerate your faith, and we are going to be doing that starting tonight. And where I think it starts is with a great enemy. And I don't think it's an enemy that you are expecting. I don't think it's an enemy that you are even thinking of right now. What if I told you the greatest enemy to the life you want could simply be the life you are currently living? We're going to hear an amazing story in the Bible that explains what I mean. That explains that we can actually get this life that we truly want, that joy, that satisfaction, that purpose. And we can see that we can find it in a way that kind of flips the way that we view of how we should actually be living our life. And so we're going to listen to or read a story through the book of Luke in the Bible. If you don't know what the book of Luke is, it's simply a story about Jesus' life. What he did, where he went, how he taught, all these amazing stories of what happened. So we're going to start in Luke chapter 10. And here's how it starts. Now, as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. Sweet, sweet Martha. What an amazing woman. I mean, Jesus came, knocked on the door, and what happened? Sweet little Martha just opened the door, big old smile on her face. Said, come on in, Jesus. I mean, when I think of Martha, I think of just a girl who's charismatic, or a person who knows everyone in the town. When I think of Martha, I think of someone who just seems like a natural-born leader, right? Man, they're so good with people. When I think of a Martha, I think of someone who maybe just fills her time with so many awesome things going on and does so many amazing things. Martha sounds like, just an amazing person, an incredible person. So that's Martha. But what's cool about that story is then it talks about her sister. And it says this, and she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. So Mary, on the other hand, while Martha, is here, shaking hands, networking, Mary's like, I'm going to chill here. I'm just going to plop myself on the ground, and I'm just going to listen to what's going on. Here's the thing about Mary. She has something that she wants, and she just kind of sticks to it, right? She's not overly impressive. I mean, she wasn't turning heads by just sitting there, She wasn't doing anything bad, not anything bad. But she definitely could have been doing more, right? Could have been doing more. Could have doing more things to impress. I kind of think of this as like older, younger sister type vibes, right? Martha's kind of the older sister doing all the things. Mary's kind of the younger sister. You know, who's like older sibling, right? Who's like older, they got younger siblings. Aren't younger siblings the worst? They just kind of sit around. They do nothing. Aren't they just kind of the worst? You guys ready for this? Ready for this? Ready for this? Hey, where are my youngest siblings at? All right, y'all want to know something? I'm going to flip the script on you. Hey, I'm a youngest sibling. That's right. Hey, let me ask the youngest sibling something. Isn't it just lonely at the top? You know what I'm saying? Isn't it lonely being the favorite of the family? Gosh, life is tough for us. Life is absolutely tough for us. And so that's a dynamic of this Martha and Mary, what I'm assuming, right? Martha is this overachiever doing all these amazing things, while Mary is just kind of like sitting there, you know, doing her own thing, listening to what Jesus has to say. And so it continues, and it says, but Martha was distracted with much serving. Again, explains the kind of person that Martha is. Man, she is continually finding ways to help people all around her in a really amazing way, right? I mean, Jesus comes to the door, and what does she think? What do I need to do to make sure that Jesus is having a good time? You know, I'm sure there was a dozen people that came into this house with Jesus, and she was probably thinking, man, how can I get them water? How can I get them food? How can I make sure there's a clean place for them to sit? Like, how can I do all these things to make sure that they are doing good? She was busy with all sorts of serving. And here's what I'm thinking, right? I mean, if I'm doing that, right, and Mary's sitting there, you know, after a while, 20, 30 minutes of doing all this work, I might be thinking in the back of my head, what the heck's Mary doing? What in the world? I mean, I'm like working hard over here. She's sitting on the ground, crisscross applesauce. What's going on? And she actually talks to Jesus about this. This is what it says. It says, and she went up to him, Jesus, and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me. Here's the thing. Martha is ticked, right? All right? She's reached her boiling point. All right? She was agitated for a little bit, but now she was like, yo, I'm going up to the main man, Jesus himself, and I'm saying, yo, what in the world is going on? Tell this lady to come help me. Little sis? I mean, come on. Little sis? Here's the thing. I get Martha here, right? I totally get where Martha is coming from, right? She's agitated. She's angry. She wants help. Here's the thing. A few years ago, I got married to my amazing wife, Summer. She's some of you all probably know her. She's incredible, loving, serving. And so before we got married, we were kind of talking through like expectations of like, hey, how are we going to go about cleaning the household, right? You know, I guess, you know, here's the thing. If you just go like every man for yourself, the reality is either just one person's going to take over or no one's going to do it at all. So you just can't do that. So with marriage, you got, hey, who's going to do what? And so growing up for me, my dad was like the yard and the garage guy, right? I mean, he spent hours out there on the yard mowing, making sure all the landscaping looked nice. And we're in the garage. It's all nice and organized and clean. And so we're sitting there. I'm like, hey, how about this? This is what my dad did. So how about we kind of do the same thing? I'm in charge of the yard and like the garage, all the outside things. I want to make sure they're all tip-top shape. I'm gonna labor out there, spend hours out there. And Summer's like, all right, fine. If you do that, if you hold up to that, I will do everything inside. I'll do dishes, I'll do laundry, whatever it is, I'll do it. If you can do that, like I don't want to go out there. I'm not trying to sweat like that. So I'm like, sweet, we got a good gig, right? I was pretty pumped about it. And I was even more pumped when after we got married, we moved into an apartment. I was super pumped about that because here's the thing. My responsibility shrank to a front door mat, right? It shrank to just having to make sure that looked good. So, you know, there was one day I came home and I opened the door, but I was like, you know what? I should check the mat, you know? And so I go to the mat, wipe off a few leaves, put the mat up, you know, make sure everything's good, walk inside. Summer's like mayhem. Like she's just cleaning dishes, laundry, all these different things. I plop myself on the couch, click on the old TV, start watching college football. And I just sit back and I'm like, man, what a sweet gig, you know? What a sweet gig. And, you know, I notice, you know, something kind of off there's tension in the air type thing, you know? She'd be, walking by with the vacuum, and she's getting that side eye, you know? It's like she's not talking to me, she's giving that side eye. And I'm like, all right, I need to, let me just address the elephant in the room. I'm like, yo, babe skis. I'm like, what's going on, you know? What's happening? I feel something off between us right now. And guys, she was ticked, right? She looks at me, she's like, what do you mean, what is going on? You're sitting on your butt while I'm out here doing all this work. And I'm like, I got the lawn in the garage. I got the doormat, looks really good. She was absolutely ticked. And she was, rightly ticked. You guys can all agree with, I was being a bum. Let's just call it what it is, I was being a bum. She was rightfully ticked. So Martha, in the same way, she is rightfully ticked at Mary, who's just sitting there while she's trying to do all this service and serving. And so she goes to Jesus and she says, hey, tell stinking Mary, little sis, to stinking help me, So this is what Jesus says. He says, but the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things. Here's what I love about Jesus' response. One, and he recognizes that she's doing a lot, right? He's like, hey, I see that you're doing a ton of stuff. And beyond that, I see that you're hurting, you're anxious, you're stressed, you're troubled. I can see that you have way too much on your plate right now. I see that. He gave her compassion and he recognized it. And I'm sure in that moment, Martha had a big breath of fresh air of like, finally, someone stinking recognizes what I'm doing. I bet she felt so good about that. But then Jesus says something that shocks everyone. So again, he said, you are anxious and troubled about many things. And he then says this, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. Everyone in the room was probably shocked. Are you kidding me? Martha's been doing all of this work. Why would Jesus not recognize Martha, but instead, why would he be on Mary's side? Right? Why would he be on Mary's side? As I go back to the story in my head of, what did Jesus see? Whenever he came to the door, what did Jesus see? Jesus says that, hey, he calls himself God. He says, I am the Messiah. I am the person that all of the people in Israel have been waiting for. He goes to someone's house and he meets Martha, and the first thing Martha does is welcome him and then immediately go find a million other things to do instead of interact with him. While Mary, she saw Jesus come in and said, I need to listen to everything he says. I need to know exactly what he's talking about. I need to write everything down. I need to be incredibly focused to what Jesus is saying. And what Jesus saw is someone who was absolutely focused on what mattered most. While Martha was distracted, Mary was focused on what mattered most. It flips the script on what we think living a good life looks like. Because what Jesus says is that instead of being distracted, we should focus on what matters most. I think I have a point up there. Yeah. Focus on what matters most. What if I told you the greatest enemy to the life you want could simply be the life you are living? I think all of us can be, have been, probably are a Martha in a way. And I don't think it's inherently a bad thing, right? We put so many things on our plate, we get distracted with so many things that we forget to focus on what matters most. Right? I love to actually illustrate it this way in terms of college students. Hey, Gunnar, can you come up here, man? Hey, everyone give a round of applause for Gunnar over here. Here, come to my right side. All right, so here I have a bowl, right? And it's full of ping pong balls, right? And these ping pong balls, they represent the college life. This ping pong ball right here, this is saying, hey, I want to grow in my faith. I want to focus on what matters most, right? Gunnar, hold this ping pong ball. Yeah, take that, dude. Keep that. Here's the thing. Hey, you went through Rush. You joined a fraternity or sorority, Gunnar, hold that ball. Hey, you found a really cool club on campus, man. It's going to help you a ton in your networking and entrepreneurship. It's an awesome club. It's going to be sweet. Hey, you got a crazy school schedule. I mean, it's going to be insane. Hey, that club you got a part of, you want to be a leader in that club. Hey, you want to graduate in 3 years, so you need to take a lot more hours. Hey, I think I'm going to run for exec in my fraternity. I think I found another sick club. I need to be president. Hey, I found the gym. I got to hit the gym like 7 days a week. Can't forget to spend time with my friends. Got mentors who even through asking to hang. Hey, got a network as well. Hey, I got to make sure I'm setting my dream job. I got an internship. I need to start applying for that. Hey, I need to add a double major. I need to add a minor. I need to have a real estate license. I need to figure out my retirement plan. Hey, can't forget to let loose and go out this weekend. I got a project due Sunday night, so I can't go out this weekend. Also, my goodness, I need to call my mom. I need to focus on me time right now. I'm not doing grade classes. I got to buckle down. I got homecoming coming up. My parents are coming in town. Gunnar, what's going on over here, man? You got balls all over the ground, dude. What's going on? Hey, you can leave those right here. Hey, I'm going to give an applause for Gunnar. You see, what happened was he wasn't careful to fill his schedule with what mattered most, and he ended up overflowing his arms, right? And if you're not careful with doing that, the most important thing will fall on the ground. It's what matters most. It's your faith. It can fall on the ground. I'm going to move this out of the way. Gosh, so much more room, you know. You have to be careful not to fill your life with so many things. And in college, it's so easy. But if you aren't careful, your entire life could end up on the ground, like these ping pong balls. So how do we do that? How do we focus on what matters most? How can we practically do that? I have really two simple applications for us to begin focusing on what matters most. The first one on focusing on what matters most is learn when to say yes. Learn when to say yes. Here's the reality. We cannot say yes to everything. We have 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, 365 days in a year. We have limited time. We do not have unlimited time. Because of that, our yeses are valuable, incredibly valuable. Time is easily the most valuable asset we have because you can never get it back. Can never get it back. Your yeses should be worth so much, so valuable. Learn when to say yes. Say yes to the right things. Say yes to things that will allow you to focus on what matters more. Say yes to the good portion that Mary was focusing on. Say yes to things that will help you and not hurt you. Learn when to say yes. Second is learn to say no. Here's the thing for me. I'm what the people in the books call a people pleaser. No is not really in my vocabulary. It is one of the hardest things for me to do is just tell people no. And I'm sure a lot of people in this room are kind of in the same boat. It is so tough to tell someone who's a good buddy of yours, a friend of yours, it's so tough to say no. Sorry, dude, I can't do that. Sorry, man, got too much on my plate. No. Sorry, I can't go do that tonight. I have something to focus on. No. It is so hard to say no. But you know that your yeses are way more valuable if you know how to say the word no. Your yeses are so much more valuable. Again, many good things will serve to distract you from what matters most. Many good things. Martha, there were so many good things that she was doing that really was distracting her from what mattered most right in front of her. She was so distracted. There's so many good things that will distract us. We have to learn to say no to the things that will distract us. Be wise with your time. Protect your time by using the word no. What if I told you the greatest enemy of the life that you truly want is simply the life you are currently living? Am I saying put your entire life on hold, cut everything out of your life, and go live on an island somewhere? No, I'm not saying that. But what if you have so many things on your plate right now that you can't even grow in what matters most? You can't feel that peace, joy, satisfaction, purpose that God has meant for us to feel because you have so many things on your plate that is overwhelming your life. Learn to say no, choose the good portion, and you will stop being your greatest enemy. Hey, I have a couple discussion questions for you. What is one thing you can say no to in order to grow in your faith? And what is one major thing you could say yes to that would accelerate your faith? Talk to people around you. Hey, have any of you guys seen an oak tree? Have any of you seen an oak tree? Yeah, one person. Got a few people who've seen an oak tree. Hey, if you haven't seen an oak tree, this is a picture of an oak tree. Oak trees are stunning and beautiful trees. I mean, just look at them. I can look at an oak tree for hours. They're an amazing tree. The cool thing about oak trees is, one, they can grow up to 70 feet tall. 70 feet. Think of a basketball goal and then just 7 times. That's tall. 70 feet tall. They can live up to 300 years old. Yo, there's some oak trees around that were there for the signing of the Declaration of Independence. 300 years old. That's crazy. Here's the thing about oak trees. Is oak trees are amazing and big and they get old, but the cool thing about oak trees is they have a root system that is incredibly deep. Their root system goes wide and it goes deep and it needs so much attention. If I ever took an oak tree seed, right? I don't know how big those seeds are. I don't know. It could be a pumpkin size. I have no idea. If I took an oak tree seed and I planted it in a pot at my house, right? And I gave it 10% of the water it needed, 10% of the sunlight it needed, 10% of the attention it needed, 10% of the nutrients it needed. If I gave it 10% of the space it needed, which it would be far less in a little pot, what would happen to that oak tree? It would die. It would die. The good portion, following Jesus, is like this oak tree. It requires much more than 10%. Choosing it requires focus. It requires attention. It requires time. It requires space in your life. Following Jesus is like this oak tree. If you give your faith the focus, attention, time, and space that it would take to produce this oak tree in your backyard, what happens after that would change your life.